Hello and welcome to another Trekstock Talks. My name is Toby Peach and I think we can officially say this is a special edition of Trekstock Talks as we are here in Made in Hackney discussing food, and we've not got one but we've got two specialists with us today. So first up we've got Dr. Rupy down here, who is a GP and food enthusiast, and he's about to release his very first book, The Doctor's Kitchen. And we've got Kellie here, who is from the Maggies Centre in Edinburgh, and she is a cancer health educator, and she's got a blog called Food to Glow. What are we cooking today? What are we going for?
So we're going to be cooking something very quick, very easy to do, using lots of different nutrient-dense vegetables. I thought we'd go for an Asian-inspired theme. So we've got some brown sushi rice over here. We're going to have some ginger, some spring onions, put loads of brassica vegetables in that we can talk about, with some shiitake mushrooms and a little bit of colour in some carrot and some red peppers. So it's kind of like a stir-fry, but lots of flavour and very easy to do.
Can I ask, guys? So so both of you are in like the world of healthy eating, and can we like kind of break that down a little bit of like what do we mean when we're talking about healthy eating? Because I think sometimes, what does that mean?
I would say we're talking about food, and like this whole attachment of healthy, I think is something that we need to move away from, because all this is just food. It's just we're just using real ingredients, whole ingredients where possible. We're using little bits of spice. And we're making things that people want to enjoy. So I think there's probably an attachment of healthy eating being expensive, first of all, and second of all, bland and lacking flavour.
There's nothing bland.
There's nothing bland about this at all. Yes, we're using healthy ingredients, brassica vegetables that've got lots of health benefits. We're using onions, we're using ginger, and all this other stuff. But it's also about the community. It's also about the cultural aspect of eating.
And I think also the context of what you say about what's healthy eating, because I certainly see people who need low fibre, and for them, something healthy would actually be white rice and white bread that's been fortified. Hopefully just for a short amount of time, but we can just go really down that rabbit hole of healthy food and just get narrower and narrower, and I don't think it really does us any good. Exactly. It kind of leads us to what's called, I guess, nutritionism, where it's not about the food, it's about those individual nutrients.
Yes.
And what we know about overall health and food, it's the overarching constituents of your diet, not just all this little individual things.
Yeah.
So
actually, that's quite good, because we were talking about carrots earlier, right? And somebody was saying, oh, well, you know, carrot is this particular carrot better for you because it's got more colour, or it's got more of this particular nutrient. And carrot, it's more than just beta carotene. Yeah. It's more than just these little individual plant chemicals. It's the whole thing. It's the other micronutrients.
Yeah, we've got about 70 different types of nutrients
that
we won't try and name because they're all chemical names. And those chemicals in the individual foods work together as well. But they work with other things of other colours and other flavours, and to become really more than the sum of their parts. So that's what's so exciting about seeing so many different colours, because you know that those are really helping to make really interesting interactions, healthful interactions in the body to promote health. And my field is obviously cancer, but it's about any kind of disease, because you don't want to see someone as someone who has cancer. You want to see the whole person. Exactly. So you're concerned with their whole health.
All I've done, just to go back to the cooking very quickly, just put a little bit of sesame oil in, but you can use different sorts of oils if you like. I like to use coconut oil when I'm using Asian food. I also use extra virgin olive oil. I think they're great ingredients. Don't be scared of fat. Fat is very important for you. It's the quality of the fats that's much, much more of an issue. So quality oils like extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil or sesame oil for this particular dish is absolutely fine.
Can I ask about some of the harder side effects to talk about over food? But if we're talking about obviously quite common side effects with certain types of chemotherapy are things around like diarrhea and also constipation. With diarrhea, is there certain types of foods that people should avoid?
The best food choices are things like bananas, applesauce, especially homemade applesauce is really good. There's no additives in that. Nice. Marshmallow extract, you can still get that at some health food shops.
Really? I haven't even heard of that.
Wow. Marshmallows used to be made with the root of the mallow plant.
Right.
And it's kind of helps to kind of bind things. I guess that's what you say.
I'm learning it for the first time. I've never heard of that.
And avoiding things like this is going to be a big hard one. Avoiding caffeine, because caffeine just speeds the system up. But so those are kind of, and also things like toast. I know some of us are not so crazy about kind of toast things, but I think when you've got that's a difficult situation. Those, like bananas on toast, that would be a really, really good thing to have, because you lose a lot of nutrients when you're kind of constantly going to the loo. So you also need to keep hydrated as well.
Yeah, it's really important. Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that was, again, these big questions, there's about things like weight loss, because obviously treatment can cause weight loss, and also I was going to ask about weight gain as well. But when we're experiencing something like weight loss and perhaps we're off like post-treatment, what are we trying to get in? Like, is it like, I know we just said not specific things, but what is it that we're trying to do to build up again?
Yeah. I think Kellie, you probably got a lot more experience in this.
With that. Just getting back to that, if you don't have much appetite, it's kind of the same kind of things. I would go firstly to kind of the healthy fats, kind of nuts and seeds if you can manage it, or the nut butters. Making your own is really good if you've got a good blender. You could ask for that for Christmas. I love mine. And things like the avocados, but also protein, because your body really does take a hit during treatment. And sometimes the cancer process does kind of use a little bit more of your protein, and your body doesn't effectively store protein except for in your body tissues anyway. So that's why it contributes a bit to fatigue. So making sure you have protein, I would say, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whenever you can manage, but not very much at one time, because I think that also helps with energy. But depending on what it is, it can really boost your calorie intake.
Absolutely. And having bits of protein with every meal, like you're saying, is actually quite important.
And in snacks as well, if you can manage it. And with the healthy fats.
Totally, yeah. A lot of people with cancer actually rely on those sorts of like high nutrient dense items. So things like nuts and seeds, things like eggs as well, like people do.
Eggs, hummus, little pots of hummus.
Yeah,
those
brilliant. There's lots of plant-based proteins as well that do have the added benefit of fibre, but you need to weigh that up with your personal condition and environment as well.
Because is this also moving into the world of, I was looking up before about the world of kind of boosting kind of things, that you add extra things, so adding your nuts, your seeds and things to your dishes to make that extra?
Yeah, so you can heighten nutrient density via a variety of means, and there is also this new sort of acceptance that foods don't work in isolation, they work in synergy. So this is why we're talking about, like, a holistic perspective of foods. We're not just eating the broccoli for sulforaphane, we're not just eating the carrots for beta-carotene. It's the combination of all those different hundreds, thousands of different chemicals that are interacting with not only themselves but also our own body cells as well. So it's a science in its infancy, but I think synergy is something that
that's a biggie. That's a biggie. That's really what I'm interested in as well. But it can get really bogged down in science. But I just think go for the colours, go for things that are the most colourful example of whatever's available, and the things that have the most flavour as well. And contrasting flavours in dishes. But
and enjoying that process as well.
And also looking at the other side of, I had ESHAP, and that makes you put on a lot of weight. And what's the advice for that kind of safe way of losing weight? Like how?
I think when we focus on wellness rather than weight itself, is probably a better perspective to take. So with regard to weight loss, I get a lot of patients coming to ask me, I know on Instagram and all the rest of it, how do I lose weight, or how do I, with this particular endpoint in mind. Whereas actually when you focus on wellness habits, so sleep and nutrient-dense foods, eating the colours, eating quality fats, eating fibre, you will achieve your healthy weight. And I think it's that sort of perspective that I prefer people to take. And also eating in time, I think, is very important, because, and it's a kind of a novel science right now, like chronobiology and eating according to when you wake up and when you go to sleep. When we eat outside those hours, our body hasn't evolved to eat when there's lots of unnatural light, for example, in late evening. So that can also affect your metabolism. So trying to eat regularly at regular times during the day is something that is quite simple, but is very effective.
Wow.
That's a growing science. I know you've got a lot of information on that as well.
It's really interesting. Just the simple act of, I know for diabetic patients, the simple act of making sure that, let's say they wake up at 8 a.m. and they have their breakfast then, and then they don't eat after 7 or 8 p.m., then
that window.
just that window, and nothing to do with like controlling calories or changing anything about their diet. They actually achieve a healthier weight.
But if you're not eating kind of around the clock, then you're not taking in all those calories. So it's that window of time is not about restriction, but except for within those hours.
Exactly.
As far as you don't really want to necessarily eat out with those hours. My kind of take is also that it's about including more good foods like that, and you kind of I think you start to feel the benefit quite quickly, and then it eggs you on to want to do a little bit more. And all of these things kind of fill you up and are good for you anyway. Yeah. Like you say, that's being trying to feel a bit healthier is probably a really good outcome rather than specifically about the kind of weight side of things.
Totally. Yeah.
Another thing that was coming through, which is again another thing that we see like on the TV quite a lot and newspapers, superfoods, another S.
Another S.
Another S.
The S
what is that a thing? Like, why are we not just all eating superfoods?
I think
context.
It's definitely context. I would say like. There's good and bad points about this whole trend towards wellness and healthy eating, right? On one hand, it's convincing a lot of people to look at food in a medicinal context, which I welcome, because I think we all need to look at our food and our supermarkets as our pharmacies. On the other side, there's quite a negative context attached to it, because these superfoods are particularly expensive, some of them, like goji berries and things that have to be shipped away from thousands of miles away. And you lose sight of the bigger picture. Yeah. Every ingredient deserves to have a pedestal. It deserves to, be praised. The Brussels sprouts are incredible. These are superfoods.
And we grow them here. They don't have to come from very far away.
The broccoli, the purple sprout and broccoli, that was grown down in Norfolk. We've got, red peppers. These are superfoods. So it is a marketing ploy for sure. There isn't such thing as a superfood, as not in the literature. And I think we need to keep sight of that, really. But if you enjoy the superfoods and you can afford them and you put them in your food, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't get overly fixated, because every whole ingredient has health giving promote.
And they have to be part of that eating lots of different colours thing as well. So like pomegranates or acai berries or whatever, you don't want to supersize on those because you get filled up for and all of that. But if you're not eating, it's not a panacea for a not very good diet by thinking I'm going to have some superfoods or I'm going to have a superfood supplement. It's probably another word you're going to mention.
That's fine.
What we want actually comes from food like this anyway. So
Thank you so much for having us here in Hackney. It's great, and thank you very much, guys.
That's great.
Anytime.
Right, keep cracking on that.
Okay.
I know. Let's get some more of this before the film crew get involved.